Yeah. MD. JPB. It's only right, baby.
Yeah. Why you mad? I got a bad bro. Name hot in these streets, no Tabasco. But I'm so stuck, that's a fact, yo. And if you think I'm frontin', you can run it back, yo. Go on, run it back. You know that I run it. Everything you wanna do, I already done it. And I got your little boo telling me she love me. I got this. Damn, it's gonna be a long night.
Hello guys, what is up? It is me, Prince of Vanessa, and I am back here with another video. Today I am doing What If Asta was Zoro's Reincarnation, Part 4. It's our time. Now, sorry I haven't posted. It's because, well, I haven't had time to. Time passed by really fast. Like, you know, one of those days, like, or weekends or weeks when you're just like, time just goes by really fast. And then I look back and check on my video. Oh, I posted this video almost a week ago. Sorry about that. But I'm back. And honestly, I'm not going to be doing much editing on this video. I'm just going to try to, like, you know, go with it and not, if I mess up, I'm just gonna, you know, say something and just continue, because I don't think I have time to edit anymore, so I'm just gonna have to do as much as I can. So yeah, anyway, we're gonna begin now. So we last started off with Asta leaving the pub. He was at the mixer, you know, scolding Funeral, and then he went to save Teresa and the kids from Sally, before then scolding Ghost and banishing him from the Black Bulls. Then the Adam Midnight Sun attacks, and Asta beats Raya, Fana, Veto, and Lick, who he then lets go because he has used a lot of magic, anti-magic, and he was a bit hurt. Then Asta gets made into a senior magic knight, and then after this comes dealing with Ghost. So they let Ghost come back in on condition that he and every other Black Bull get more serious, and they start to change. They go to the water temple and they get the magic stone, not needing to fight the Eye of the Midnight Sun as they did not show up. After this, the kingdom is attacked by diamond mages, and Asta and Yuno go crazy on the battlefield. So now we're gonna have a little flashback again as we see Funeral running around, and he ends up seeing Langris, and their eyes meet, and Langris smiles. Now you really have an excuse to slack off, don't you? I don't know what you're talking about, Funeral would say. We have a job to do as knights. Can we not do this today? Langris then walks past him saying, okay, but Funeral will never be anything more than a woman-obsessed man with no goal. This reminds Funeral of what Asta said, but then he remembers also Asta, you know, forgiving Ghost and giving him a second chance, and he says, it's disgusting, isn't it? Being related to me. Langris then stops around and turns around to see Funeral, and he says that he knows he sucks and he's known to be, you know, really weak and annoying, but from now on, he's making the decision to stop. I won't blame your genius for my weakness, because if Asta, who has no magic, can reach that level of power, then I can very well surpass you. Langris is shocked as Funeral then runs off on his mission to go help, and we go to the present time when Langris would think, how did he make my brother change so fast? Now, up in the sky, as Asta and Yuno are arguing, a tired Nero would then come and rest on, you know, Asta's head, and Yuno would say, that's new. Never mind that. Either way, I'm looking forward to our next fight. And a piece of advice, says your brother, your attacks are strong, yes, but they're still predictable to someone like me. Be wild, uncharacteristic. That's the only way you'll stand a chance. You know, think outside the box. Asta then leaves, and Yuno thinks on this, telling Bud that when they get back, they're gonna train because he has a certain idea. So after this incident, you know, ends, things are taken care of, and the diamond mages are cleaned off the streets. And as for the Black Bulls, well, they are put through the ringer by Asta as they were outside the base the next day. And Asta has, you know, something set up for everyone because, well, you know, being the strongest swordsman and a fighter in general in his world, you know, being the strongest swordsman now, Asta can also teach. That's one of the virtues of being the strongest. Everyone is lined up outside, even Yami and Gray, who is now in her normal form because Asta told her to get over herself. Asta then starts lecturing them. Now, I'm not here to be an etiquette teacher. I'm here to teach you discipline, because you guys have none of it. You, Vanessa, from now on, wear actual clothes or I'll punch you. Charlie, stop eating so much. You'll get fat and it'll hinder your fights. And then, won't like you anymore, you know? Gosh, you need to control your impulses, or so help me God, I will hug Mary right in front of you. Noel, your noble attitude needs to come down a bit. It might be a good thing to be prideful, but too much pride may make you come off as what people call a bitch. Luck then whispers to Yami, wow, Asta's even more scary than you, Captain. Luck then sees Yami is not even smoking and he's actually paying attention, so he follows his example and Asta notices it as he smiles. All of you have immense potential, but you're just wasting it because no one has ever told you that maybe you need to get a bit serious. You've never been held to a standard because you're the worst, apparently. But now I'm here, so you better listen. They all nod, and Asta assigns them all certain things to focus on, as he tells them, whenever they have time to practice, like even if it's just like playing around with magic, they should do it because it makes you more proficient in it. Noelle works on hitting targets, which she's already pretty good at now, and Ghost focuses on more creative side of his spells. And Fernando starts working on his teleporting pitches early. Charmy, her first test is to stop eating so much and to do physical workouts. Yami goes back to the basics of swordsmanship so he can figure out things, and he also spars Asta, because they're both swordsmen. Vanessa is working on her magical output, while Luck and Magna spar together, but Magna is told by Asta that he does not have to fight with simple power and try to match Luck, because Luck is a commoner, yes. Well, Luck is special for a commoner. And, he says that men who also outsmart their opponents are even more manly, and that kind of, gets him going. And for Gordon, Gordon is just mostly, Asta is just taking him out. Asta is like legit just showing Gordon how to live, because Gordon is so like such an introvert, and to be better at fighting and to be more wild and just better at fighting, he needs to experience things more. He needs to be more out there. So that's what Asta takes him on. He just takes him around and shows him stuff. He takes him to like little parties and stuff. They just have fun. And as for Gray, she is with Asta currently, and she sits cross-legged across from him as he would just look at her. What are you doing? Gray would ask. Why are you hiding your face? Because I'm not good to look at. Asta then sighs, asking why she thinks that, and Gray tells her story, and after the story is over, Asta would sigh, thinking and saying, "You're so stupid. I thought you were supposed to make me feel better. No, I'm not your therapist. Right now, I'm your teacher, and I'm telling you, you're strong, but you're weak-minded." But what if Gray? Just because nobles say you're ugly doesn't mean you are. Just because they say you're weak doesn't mean you are. And you and I are gonna need to train, so you need to stop acting like this. You're not back in that prison. This is your home, isn't it? Gray gets wide-eyed as Asta then stands up and leaves, telling her to find him when her resolve becomes stronger. And so while everyone starts to grow, 3 days pass, and on the third day, while Asta is far away sleeping on a branch, he sees and senses, Gray coming closer, and he would ask, "What now?" Stop mumbling. Speak with confidence. Jesus. Gray then says, "I want to turn into someone who will actually be strong. Please help me train." Asta then jumps down, saying, "From now on, anytime you stutter, I'll have you do 10 push-ups." Gray then gets a little sad and scared, but is more serious now about this, and they start training, and Asta realizes Gray's magic is kind of OP because it reminds him of a certain devil fruit type, a Logia. At its core, Gray can construct and reconstruct things into other things, and he tested it by cutting himself and having Gray heal it, and this confirms it. She's not exactly like a Logia, but when Logias are cut through or anything, they just reassemble, you know what I'm saying, right? And Gray can simply rearrange things to an insane level, even down to their cells. Not that Asta knows what that is, or Zoro knows what that is, but he gets the gist of the power. So when Asta tells her this, she's surprised. So instead of focusing on transforming herself, they focus on transmutation. And she has to turn a rock into ice, and then ice to water, which is easy. And then she fights with Luck and Magna to get used to using her magic in stressful situations. And she develops a move, you guys, can name it, that simply dissolves magic, like literally just poofs it out. But it depends on the power of the spell and not the element itself. If like an element like water comes at her, it doesn't matter if like the water is not that much, but if the spell itself contains a lot of mana, she might not be able to dissolve it. And it could be any element. She can transmutate it. And after this, she's trained by Asta to fight because she can use transformation, and he honestly envies that power because he wanted the ability to control his muscles, which he obviously wouldn't get because One Piece is not fair. You have to get stronger by yourself. Not that Zoro wasn't strong, he was strong as hell. But this gives her a new spell, which is called partial transformation, and this allows her to change her muscle density and makes her limbs huge if needed, like Choji from Naruto. And if she wants to block an attack, she can make her arm huge and poof, Now the rest is up to her, and Gray is getting some development. Now Noelle unlocks her Valkyrie form already, armor, and this is when they get their most amazing power up, like all of them. Asta introduces them to how to defend themselves. He doesn't teach them Haki, by the way. He simply gives them the concept of harnessing energy, mana from the surroundings, and this is what gives them a huge power boost. Everyone, especially Yami, benefits from this as he develops a different, style. He learns his, dimensional slashes, and with the help of Asta, his swordsmanship has advanced quickly. His physical stats are kind of off the chart. Like, Asta pushes him. If he's gonna be Zoro's captain, Zoro and Asta's body captain, he's gonna be needed to be strong for Zoro to accept him. And Fernando learns to use his teleporting pitch to be less of a fighter and more of a supporting role, but Asta does, train him physically so he can like find a way to teleport and punch niggas and stuff like I did with back when I did What If Asta Was a Player. That was good. That was a really good power up for Fernando. I might do the same thing here. Now, yeah, he still, knows how to, help with, on the battlefield. He can reflect spells back at people by literally teleporting them back to you. It's OP. Yes, I know. And this takes a lot of magic control, but he gets used to it because he is pushed to not be behind everyone else, and he stops going on dates because that's annoying. Now, Luck unlocks the same power he got from the elf taking over his body, and it's very powerful, and he learned not to only, use excessive power, and actually learns to react to his enemies, because he's so fast, and Asta tells him he should take advantage of that. Ghost uses the mana method that Asta has taught them to create more mirrors, like a ton of them, just like when the elf took over him, and it's just strong as hell, and his rays, like his beams, like his magic beams, are OP. Magna, instead of focusing on power, learns to fight in a more strategic way because he's a commoner. He naturally doesn't have as much power as a noble or someone like Luck, even though Luck himself is a noble as well. Now he uses trap fire magic, which is what he uses, later in the manga. Yes, spoilers, too bad. Now, Charmy, due to not being able to eat as much during all those days, she basically explodes, like when she did around the beginning of the new season of Black Clover, and she just goes crazy, and Asta fights her, and this is when she unlocks her food magic, and she becomes, more beautiful, and she has her wolf instead of her sheep, and unlocks food magic. Yeah, like I said, Noelle can use Valkyrie armor, now combined with her incredible magic, and can basically just do everything. She's just really good now. Like, she would low-key beat a shit ton of people with no, problem at all. And she stops bragging about being a noble and just fights, because it's more noble to just be noble instead of bragging about it. And it's more, she tries to imitate Nozel. Instead, she doesn't, put down commoners because she hates Nozel, and, she likes commoners like Asta. As for Gordon, when Asta teaches him how to interact with people and their group more, and he actually gets more loud, he increases his magic as well. I don't know what Gordon's magic is. I'll research more about it later and give him an actual power-up. I'll give him a moment, because Gordon is left out of this too much. I will give Gordon his own little scene, all right, later, but I will not do it now because I have a lot of stuff to talk about. And, yeah, now as a result of this, everyone can create mana skin. And yeah, they've all learned Mana Skin, and Luck already knows Mana Zone. And yeah, by the way, Noelle can use Mana Zone as well, just saying. But Vanessa wants to improve by going to see her mother. So she brings Noelle, Fernando, Asta, Luck, and Gray with her, and as they approach the kingdom of the kingdom of witches on their brooms, Luck would look back and say, did Asta get lost again? They all look and he is gone, and they sigh, saying that's ridiculous. And Noelle would say, that idiot. It'll be fine, he'll show himself eventually, he always does, but now we have an excuse to give him an earful. They all smile devilishly, with Gray saying maybe they shouldn't be too hard on him because he's the reason why they're stronger. And Noelle says, she knows, while blushing, and, they've been put through hell, so they're kind of feeling like some payback. And, they even Gray can't, deny that he's been a bit rough, but they are going to disagree that they aren't stronger because Asta is here, because they are stronger because he's here. Now, as for Asta, he's walking down below in the forest, close to the witch's forest. He's about to actually enter it, not that he knows that, and Libe forms above him. Seriously, what is wrong with you? Oh, you can do this now? Yeah, that's because, hey, don't change the subject. How are you this bad at directions? Asta then tells him to calm down and that it'll work out, and Libe sighs, asking how the hell his crew dealt with his disappearing act so much, and he would smile sadly, hearing about his crew. I'm not trying to make you feel sad or anything, alright? Asta then says, I'm not feeling sad. On the inside, I'm an old man, it's just nostalgic. Then why do you care about these people that much? If anything, they should annoy you. They're a bunch of annoying, loud brats. Asta then says he doesn't hate the Black Bulls, he hates their incompetence, and even as pirates, they were the worst of the worst, apparently, dictated by everyone, but they still did their jobs. Think about it. They were pirates, thieving pirates, and they still did more of a job than everyone in the Black Bulls. They are less lazy than the Black Bulls. They put their lives on the line all the time. So he hates it that they are literally part of an order that is dictated by the government, but they act like it's no big deal. He hates it. Also, he says that although he is sort of the primary soul in control of this body, Asta's soul is mixed with his. So that fuels a lot of his actions, like the uncontrollable urge to protect Yuno, which is why him leaving the village actually hurt him, even though it shouldn't have. Now Libe understands this, as this is when out of nowhere something grabs Asta's feet and he's punched in the stomach, and he's then flying through the forest and crashing into the house of a witch. Now he's officially in the witch forest. Is that a man? What is he doing here? The surrounding witches get ready for battle when they then hear an explosion far off, and their forest is being destroyed as Raya and Veto approach, and with the combined attack they go to kill the witches, but Asta gets up and moves at like lightning speed, cutting through their magic and appearing on top of a tree branch, bleeding from his mouth a bit. Nice to meet you again. Veto then lands on the ground and Raya just keeps flying up, as he would then say, so you do bleed, you monster. Of course I bleed. It's nothing compared to what's gonna happen to you though. He then goes to pull out his sword, but Raya restricts his arms with the sort of magic that he copied from someone recently, and these black tendrils will wrap around him completely, and he keeps smiling though, because he doesn't care. And this is when he's, surrounded by people of the Eye of the Midnight Sun members from all sides. They're pointing their arms at him in fear of him escaping somehow. Veto then approaches him and takes Lick's grimoire away, just snatches it, and Raya would use curse magic to turn Asta's hands black, and they just become limp, and overall, he's weakened. After this, they carry him out of the witches' forest while destroying it, and the witches fight back, and, they try to, but it's not gonna work. They're not killed, though. And soon Veto and Raya are on the battlefield, like they're just on a barren field, and this is when Asta will be thrown to the ground, and he just sits up, still being surrounded, by the way. I guess you brought new friends, huh? Asta still just smiles, making Veto mad, as he would say, this bastard. He then punches him, as Raya then tells him to, calm down, because they have what they came for. This is when the diamond mages start to arrive on the scene, flying through the sky, and this contains Mars, obviously Mars is there, he's a diamond mage, and Asta senses him with his observation. He smiles, and this is when Fana and the other members of the Eye of the Midnight Sun are also approaching, and they're already, attacking. Asta then stands up, and all the mages get on guard, telling him to, stay down, and Asta says, well, sorry, if you wanted to put me out for good, you should have gone for the head. Asta's eyes then shine just purple. Everyone surrounding him except Veto and Raya are all cut simultaneously, losing consciousness. And this is not them actually being cut. This is just the effect of Zoro's Haki. And this wave of Haki just spreads. The diamond mages from above see Asta, who they wanted revenge against, when they're just hit by this wave, this terrifying wave. And as they're hit by this wave, they all lose consciousness, as do their wyverns. I'm guessing that's what they're riding on. And their wyverns just fall. And, Mars's wyvern starts to fall, but he himself is okay. But he's still being, kind of hit by this pressure. What the hell's going on? On the other side, the same thing happens to the Eye of the Midnight Sun, but as her animal falls, Fana summons a salamander and she lands on it as it roars. And while she looks down at her hand, she's shaking, thinking, this shouldn't be possible. Back to Asta, Veto and Raya will be scared, and in front of them will be an absolute monster. No, a king amongst kings. And Asta's arms return to normal, with him using Haki to just take away the curse, and he would say, that's much better. He then cracks his neck as he walks forward and just walk. It's how do I say this? He literally just casually walks by them like he's taking a stroll, and then grabs his grimoire from Veto, and they're too scared to move, and Asta then stops as he then remembers something. Alright, I said this was your last chance. Asta then takes out one sword and swings it 5 times in their direction before resheathing it, and he would say, it was an honor meeting you again. The two then get cut to pieces and explode as Asta walks away, with Libe inside, and inside the grimoire he'd be like, hey yo, this nigga, I chose right. I'm happy he's not messing with me. So as Asta walks out, he sees people flying over to him, and they're his, part of his team, but they're also accompanied by people that he hasn't met yet. In front of him would then land Finral, Luck, Noelle, Gray, and Vanessa, along with Kruger and the Queen of Witches. You intruder, it's you again. Oh hey, how's it been? Asta would say, and Vanessa would ask how he knows his mom, and Asta is surprised to hear that is her mom. But more importantly, the Queen would ask what happened, and who took out all these people, with Asta just pointing at himself nonchalantly. You really expect me to believe that? Due to your appearance is why these ants came to invade. Watch it. The Queen then gets scared as Asta says that he did not intentionally bring these people here, but at least he doesn't abuse his own child. When you saw me, you must have thought I looked like a little rat that just managed to escape from you, but if you're a queen, then I'm a king, so watch yourself, or I'll make you. Asta is releasing this aura when Vanessa gets in front of him, telling him to calm down because it's not worth it, and Asta can see that everyone else is shaking, and because of his, Conqueror spirit, so he just sucks it back in, and he says, well, I don't have time to focus on you anyway. Some more interesting people are arriving. From the sky would come Fana, whose eyes are filled with rage, and when, she sees the dead bodies of her companions, it's even worse, and her magic explodes, pushing everyone back and burning them. But Asta just takes back his sword, just takes it out, and he puts his grimoire in his satchel, puts his, third sword in his mouth, and then he just freaking jumps up saying, Santoryu, spirit flame magic, Fana would say. Rangoku, onigiri, salamander's claw. Asta jumps through the attack, cutting it as he reaches Fana, and he's about to cut her when Mars appears, getting struck in Fana's place. And as Asta barely holds back, barely, he would flip over him, still cutting his chest apart, and Fana would say, "Is that you?" Mars then turns around, telling Fana he is happy to see her again, as Asta would be stopping mid-air, flying, being annoyed, as he would then say, "Why the hell do these people keep interrupting my fights?" To his surprise, he then sees Fana hugging and crying over Mars, as she then slowly lands down, and she has regained her full, herself. She's gone back to normal, and Kruger runs over checking on a student, and he's surprised to see her again, but he doesn't know how she got that much mana, though it all mostly seems to be gone now. "Is he gonna be okay?" Fana would ask, and Kruger checks on his wounds, and he's fatally wounded. However, this is when he's pushed aside by Rei, who comes up and using her magic, and she makes the wound completely disappear, shocking Fana and Kruger. "I only healed the wounds, but he still used a lot of energy to block Asta, so he's gonna be out for a while." Thank you," Kruger would say. Asta then lands, asking Vanessa if she got what she needed from the queen, and she said no, and now all the attention turns to the queen. She knows that she has no choice, but she's still spiteful, and using her blood magic, she would create a domain of blood, which holds all the black bulls, including Kruger and Fana, captive, and they have blood spikes pointed at them, but Asta and Vanessa are free. "What are you doing?" "Helping you grow. Your friend over there doesn't seem to have a problem with it." Vanessa then sees that Asta is sat down, and she realizes that he is testing her. She needs to save her friends on her own, and Asta wants her to unlock her full potential, but he will not interfere. "Just so you're thinking this, I'm not giving up on you. I know you'll stop this. I will not touch my swords. I won't. This is your battle. But your mother is pretty shrewd, so this is not going to be easy for you. Stepping on my land, asking me for help after you abandoned us. Are you serious? How dare you? You little child," the queen would yell, and she goes to kill everyone, but then Asta would smile, seeing Vanessa's her mana just rise. "No, you abandoned me long before that. Don't you dare act like you're the victim here." The spikes just burst to nothing, and the land of blood disperses as Vanessa points to her mother, and her cat of fate will land on top of the queen's hat. Feeling this immense magic, the queen stops her magic, and the black bulls are released, with Vanessa being surprised as to what she did. And Asta then stands up saying that she did a good job. And then he goes up to the queen, puts his sword at her neck, and tells her to never interfere in Vanessa's matters again, or her head is going off. He doesn't give a damn. He can literally destroy the entire witch's forest in one blow. Not that, Vanessa tells him not to, because there's still some good friends over there. And the other witches with Kruger are kind of scared of this dude. Who are you? Now, Mars, thanked Asta for not killing the Diamond Mages, actually. But, they're still going to have to kill some of them. And Mars, honestly, doesn't like them anymore because he's had a bit of a revelation. The Black Bulls are going to go back home. Vanessa has gained some power. And they're obviously the members of the Eye of Midnight Sun. They're knocked out, but they are killed and burnt while unconscious by the queen. And from this point on, Vanessa's power grows and her controls of strength improves to such a degree that the threads that she makes are way stronger, and she can make way more shapes for attacks. She copies the queen's blood spikes and makes a string, just a spike made of strings. Now after this, everyone goes to the festival, and Yami is taking more of a leadership role, actually not enjoying the festival, and he's backstage with the captains ready to come out. And backstage, the captains would be, wide-eyed to see Yami actually wearing a suit. Charlotte, who was actually only backstage to see him, would be falling madly in love with him all over again, and Noza would ask, "Is that truly you?" Yami then turns to him, "What do you mean? You never seen a suit before?" "I'm just being a proper captain." "Yeah, sure. Does this mean you think you actually have a chance this year?" Yami does nothing and, just smiles, saying that they will see, And then they are called out, with them seeing a huge crowd of people just, hearing cheers being thrown at them. And people were actually cheering for the Black Bulls, since if it wasn't for them, they would all be dead. And Yami has never experienced this before because everyone just hates him for being a dirty commoner. Well, even if they don't like me, it's just like he said, Yami would think. It doesn't matter what they say or what they think because I chose to be a captain, now I have to act like one. Julius then smiles seeing Yami, and he's really proud, and he would say, now in these days our kingdom has been having some trouble, but thanks to our night order, things have been getting better. Now without any further ado, let's say and show who has the most stars this year, and it is the Black Bulls. Everyone is shocked with Yami laughing and smiling as the captains look at him in confusion as to how this could happen at all. And of course, during training, Asta was the one who was preoccupied, doing missions for the team and making up for the time wasted. And Julius would say, the success of the squad this year is because of that young swordsman I know you've all seen. Asta, come onto the stage. As he says this, Asta drops from the sky, landing in his usual attire, sporting 3 swords and no shirt and, some pants. And people would say, wow, he actually has a 3-sword style then? Asta then scoffs, thinking, my body moves by instinct. Just how much did this kid want to be a magic knight? He then gets cheered on, and everyone, cheers for him because, why not? And, he deserves it. Everyone from the squad is cheering for him as well, and the ladies ain't blind. They can see Asta drip, so, they ain't that stupid. Is called on to the stage next with the Golden Dawn being second place, which is really setting in the fact that the Black Bulls are actually beating them and are actually getting serious. Now, as surprising as it is to most of you, Asta does not have magic. Matter of fact, both him and Yuno are commoners, Julius would say. People will then start to doubt their skill, especially Asta's skill, even though it's stupid to do that, and Yuno gets mad seeing and hearing all this stuff about, people like talking about his brother that way, and he explodes with magic, surprising everyone. And Asta lifts an eyebrows to this, as this is when Yuno turns to him and smiles. What do you say? Asta then smiles and turns around with everyone freezing up, even the captains, as this eerie purple energy is released from Asta, and they know it isn't magic. A sort of pressure that sets in, and Nozel gets nauseous, remembering what happened last time. Then smiles as he releases a beam of wind, and Asta takes out a sword and in the same motion cuts it in half, blowing back like a shit ton of wind. When I say a shit ton, people actually go flying. Did that on purpose, but people actually go flying. It's people in the front row who were roasting Asta for no reason, and smiles, and he's just happy. Like, he's scared, but he's happy. And even the captains are blown back a bit. And Vengeance is really happy because he didn't know that was packing this much power. Like, it increased overnight so fast and so much. And the fact that Asta blocked it so easily, he would think, these kids are too strong. Now, after this happens, silence just sets in, and no cheer is heard. Just applause. Just that. Just pure respect to these 2 commoners, and no longer doubting them. They're just clapping in awe. They were just a different breed of power. Now, after this, the other ranks are said, and then the king comes out and gives a speech that no one gives a damn about, but the nobles would kiss ass, kiss up to him, because they're nobles. But most people don't even know who the kingdom had a king besides from, Julius. Now, after being embarrassed by the king, Asta and leave, and they start going backstage down the stairs, and would say, hey, how was I? I don't know. Belle then says, hey, shouldn't you be more supportive? Stop being so vague. Then tells her that he does not have to tell him anything because he's a harsh brother, first and foremost, and they're rivals. So, as they head down the stairs, they hear screaming and end up seeing a red-headed woman, and Mereoleona would say, you goddamn idiots, how could you fall so low? Fuegolan would then say, sister, be quiet. Not only did you get 5th place, you don't even seem mad about it. Then what do you suggest? Mereoleona then says that she wants to take them to that place, and Fuegolan sighs, saying that they're gonna go training, and it's gonna be hard, so they better be ready. Now, as he says this, and Asta pass by him and Mereoleona, talking about the fact that the training sounds pretty interesting, and Mereoleona would then say, really? Then why don't you jump in, rookies? Asta then says, no, I'm not a mage. Mereoleona smiles nervously, thinking, oh, what's that stuff coming out of him? It was terrifying. I'd love to see him at full power. Hey you, Asta would say, as he looks at Leopold and says, stop focusing on sheer power so much, it's idiotic. It's a waste. Start from the basics and reinvent your style. Power comes later. Leopold and the others are surprised that he can give such good advice, and he leaves saying that, he's not gonna try because he's not a mage. And says he would actually like to join the training, and Mereoleona is happy because at least she can see because is actually pretty dope. But she still wants to see Asta in action because she wants to know how he does what he does. Now, as Asta is training in a room at at the Black Bulls, he had Gray construct a a what's it called, like a equipment for him. Well, he had Henry construct a room just for him. It was a huge room surrounded by metals. It was just a metal room because Gray transmutated to that, you know, kind of material. And then Asta brought in a boulder and Gray transformed it into a giant 10,000-pound barrel. So the Black Bulls are right now either training, doing missions, or chilling. Gray went on a mission with Ghost. Magna went on a mission with Luck. Noel is training outside. Gordon is chilling in the living room along with Charmy, and Yami is there as well. And this is when Mereoleona barges in holding Noel by the head. Hey Yami, I need to borrow some of your people. Yami then sighs. Did I give you permission to enter? What? What happened to him? He's different somehow. Yami then appears right in front of her saying, I said, who gave you the right to enter? Mereoleona just sweats and drops Noel, apologizing for barging in, and Yami says not to do that again because they're not that close and that can be considered a declaration of war. You can't just kick down someone's door like that. So what do you want? Mereoleona then said that she wanted to borrow Noel and Asta to train them, and Gordon would then say, oh, what about me? Can I go as well? Mereoleona then looks at him and says that, you know, he can, and he smiles, with Noel saying, but you don't even know her. It doesn't matter, I just want to be of use somehow, so I'll get stronger. Noel, hearing this, becomes more willing to go, with Mereoleona. But Yami says that when it comes to Asta, he has not accepted him as his captain yet, so it's up to him whether he wants to go or not. Hasn't accepted you, huh? Mereoleona would say. Well, you have big shoes to fill. Mereoleona is then led to Asta's training place by Noel, and as they just turn a corner, this is when they start to feel the heat coming, and they stand in front of her room. This room would of course be Asta's training room, and there is intense heat, a lot of it, and smell of sweat. Mereoleona gets close and opens the door, and her eyes widen as she smiles, seeing Asta doing curls with this one giant barbell. And Asta turns and notices them and carefully drops the weight, saying, "You're too clingy." Noel blushes after seeing a shirtless Asta, and Mereoleona would say, "What can I say? It's only expected when you find something as interesting as you." Now, how will Licht now deal with the fact that he has lost his true friends? How will he put his plans into action? And how will the Black Bulls continue to change? Find out in the upcoming parts. It's been me, Prince Over This, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Now, before I actually end the video, for once I actually have something to say. It's been a while. I might be posting a new What If because things have been too boring on the channel. Honestly, it's not that bad, but I want to bring in more subscribers, and I've been down on my game because after that one time I took a break, from for 3 weeks, things have been going a bit slow. So I'm trying to get to 18K as fast as possible, and then 20K, because I feel like we should all be ahead of this, because I have a lot of views but not a lot of subscribers. By the way, don't forget to subscribe, because you guys ain't doing that enough. Matter of fact, I'm gonna give you just a few seconds to subscribe. Okay, that was all. If you haven't done it yet, please do hit the notification bell as well, because YouTube sometimes fucks that up, and that's why most of you probably don't see my videos when they come out. And yeah, I will definitely, I think I'm gonna try and post a new What If. But don't worry, I'm still working on What If Luffy was Bond's reincarnation. It's just that I'm trying to figure out how the dynamics will go. Now that everyone is just basically OP, most villains will not be anything until I get to Kaido. And yeah, I'm also gonna have to figure out how to integrate Bullet's existence into the show. And the fact that, the log post to Laugh Tale actually existed and Luffy destroyed it, and how the government is going to scheme more now. Because Luffy is really strong, and he's not really on their side, much like Kaido. And unlike Kaido, he doesn't just stay in his territory. He actually does stuff. So, yeah. Anyway, stay safe. Do your work. I have SATs coming up. I'm not taking it this week, but I'm about to, next time. And, yeah. Bye.